text message had seemed innocent enough when it arrived on Thursday afternoon. Hannah, I found you the perfect date for Saturday night. Trust me, you're going to love this. Hannah Morrison stared at her phone skeptically. Her college roommate, Jessica, had been trying to set her up for months, insisting that at 26, Hannah needed to get back out there and start dating again. Never mind that Hannah was raising a 3-year-old daughter. Alone while working as a barista and taking night classes to finish her degree. Romance was apparently supposed to fit somewhere between diaper changes and studying for exams. I don't know, Jess, Hannah had texted back. I'm not really in a place for dating right now. Come on. He's successful, handsome, and he specifically asked for someone genuine and down to earth. That's you. Just one dinner. If it's awful, you never have to see him again. Plus, I'll babysit Emma for free. The free babysitting had been the deciding factor. Hannah rarely got a night to herself, and even a bad date would at least be a few hours of adult conversation. What Hannah didn't know was that behind the scenes, Jessica had been laughing with her boyfriend Tyler and his friend Marcus about the hilarious setup they'd arranged. Marcus worked in the same building as CEO Dominic Sterling, and they'd overheard Dominic's assistant setting up blind dates, trying to find someone for her workaholic boss who never left the office. Let's set him up with someone completely wrong, Marcus had suggested, drunk on wine and boredom, like the opposite of what a CEO would want. Someone with a kid, someone who works at a coffee shop. Can you imagine his face? Jessica had thought of Hannah immediately. Sweet, struggling Hannah, who was so desperate for help that she'd probably go through with it just for one night of free childcare. They'd convinced Dominic's assistant that Hannah was a successful event coordinator. Someone polished and sophisticated. The whole thing was meant to be a joke, something they could laugh about later. They even planned to be at the restaurant to watch the disaster unfold. Phones ready to capture Dominic's reaction when his successful date showed up as a single mom in a dress from a thrift store. Saturday evening arrived. Hannah's neighbor, Mrs. Chen, watched Emma while Hannah got ready, carefully applying makeup she rarely had occasion to wear and smoothing down the red dress she'd found for $12 at a consignment shop. It was nice enough, she thought, if a bit dated. She'd paired it with her only heels and hoped she looked presentable. The restaurant was far fancier than Hannah had expected. The Sterling Room was one of those places that didn't list prices on the menu, where the servers wore tuxedos and the chandeliers probably cost more than her car. Hannah felt panic rising as she gave her name to the hostess. Right this way. Ms. Morrison, the hostess said, with a professional smile that didn't quite reach her eyes as she took in Hannah's outfit. Dominic. Sterling stood as Hannah approached the table, and her first thought was that this had to be a mistake. The man waiting for her was extraordinary. Tall, dark-haired, with strong features and kind eyes that looked tired despite his expensive navy suit. He was exactly the kind of man who would never, in normal circumstances, be set up with someone like her. Hannah, he said, extending his hand. I'm Dominic. It's a pleasure to meet you. His handshake was firm but gentle, and Hannah noticed he had calluses on his palm. Unexpected on a CEO. Nice to meet you too, she managed, her voice smaller than she'd intended. Across the restaurant, Jessica, Tyler, and Marcus had positioned themselves at a corner table with a clear view. They were already snickering, phones out, waiting for the awkwardness to begin as Dominic and Hannah sat down. She noticed him glancing at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Not disgust or disappointment, as she'd feared, but something closer to curiosity. I have to be honest, Hannah said, deciding to address the elephant in the room before the evening became completely unbearable. I think there might have been some miscommunication. My friend Jessica set this up, and I'm pretty sure she may have exaggerated some things about me. Dominic's lips quirked in a slight smile. How so? Well, for starters, I'm not an event coordinator, Hannah said, her cheeks burning. I'm a barista, at Common Grounds Coffee. I'm also a single mom to a 3-year-old daughter, and I'm taking night classes to finish my degree in education. So if you want to leave right now, I completely understand. I'm clearly not what you were expecting. Okay. Dominic was quiet for a moment, studying her face. Then he said something that surprised her. Actually, that sounds far more interesting than what I was told to expect. Really? Hannah said skeptically. Really? Dominic confirmed. My assistant has been setting me up with a series of very polished, very ambitious professional women who all seem to be reading from the same script. They talk about their careers, their networking strategies, their 5-year plans. It's exhausting. You just told me the truth, even though it might have ended this date before it started. That's refreshing. Hannah relaxed slightly. What did they tell you about me? That you were a successful event coordinator with an impressive client list and a passion for luxury brands, Dominic said with a wry smile. I was prepared for another evening of someone trying to impress me with name-dropping and industry connections. I can name-drop, Hannah offered with a small smile. My daughter loves Elmo. Does that count? Dominic laughed, a genuine sound that made his whole face transform. That's the best name-drop I've heard in months. Over dinner, they talked. Really talked. Hannah told him about Emma, about the challenges of single parenthood, about her dreams of becoming a teacher. Dominic told her about building his company, about the loneliness of success, about his own childhood with a single mother who'd worked 3 jobs to support him. Okay. She passed away 5 years ago, Dominic said quietly, just as my company was really taking off. I wish she could have seen it, could have known that all her sacrifices paid off. She knew, Hannah said with certainty. Mothers always know. Even when we're exhausted and worried and feel like we're failing, we see the good in our children. She was proud of you, Dominic. Something in Dominic's expression softened. Thank you for that. Across the restaurant, Jessica, Tyler, and Marcus were growing confused. This wasn't going according to plan. Dominic wasn't looking uncomfortable or making excuses to leave. In fact, he was leaning forward, engaged, smiling more than they'd ever seen. And Hannah, instead of being embarrassed and flustered, was talking animatedly, her hands gesturing as she told some story that made Dominic laugh. This isn't funny anymore, Marcus muttered. They actually seem to like each other. Give it time, Tyler said, though he sounded less certain. The joke will land eventually. But as dinner progressed, the joke only became more apparent to the 3 observers. They'd accidentally created a genuine connection. Hannah and Dominic had moved past appetizers, through entrees, and were now sharing dessert. Their conversation flowing naturally between serious topics and shared laughter. I should probably be honest about something too, Dominic said as they finished their coffee. This whole blind date setup, it wasn't my idea. My assistant thinks I work too much and need to find someone to share my life with. She's not wrong, but the process has been incredibly awkward. I can imagine, Hannah said. I mean, I'm sure you have women throwing themselves at you constantly. That's part of the problem, Dominic said quietly. How do you know if someone likes you for yourself or for what you can provide? The women my assistant sets me up with, they see the CEO, the bank account, the lifestyle. They don't see me. Hannah nodded slowly. I think I understand that in a different way. When people find out I'm a single mom, I can see them making judgments. They assume I'm looking for someone to rescue me, or that I'm damaged goods, or that I come with too much baggage. They don't see me either. It's for what it's worth, Dominic said. Okay. See someone who's working incredibly hard to build a good life for her daughter. Someone who's honest and warm and has a beautiful smile. That's what I see. Hannah felt tears prick her eyes. Thank you. That means more than you know. As they prepared to leave, Dominic insisted on walking Hannah to her car. In the parking lot, under the soft glow of streetlights, he took her hand gently. I know this started under false pretenses, he said, but I'd really like to see you again, Hannah. If you're open to that, I'd like that too, Hannah said. But Dominic, you should know what you're getting into. I don't have a flexible schedule. I can't afford nice restaurants or fancy clothes. I come as a package deal with a very energetic 3-year-old who thinks 4 a.m. is an acceptable time to start the day. This won't be like dating the women you're used to. Good, Dominic said firmly, because those relationships were empty. Tonight, talking with you, is the first time in years I've felt like someone was actually seeing me. I don't care about fancy restaurants or schedules. I care about spending time with someone real. They agreed to a second date, and Dominic waited until Hannah's car started before getting into his own. As he drove home, he felt something he hadn't felt in years: hope. Meanwhile, back at the restaurant, Jessica, Tyler, and Marcus were dealing with the reality of what they've done. We should tell them, Jessica said, guilt beginning to eat at her. This isn't funny anymore. They really like each other, and it started with us lying. Are you crazy? Marcus hissed. If they find out we set this up as a joke, we'll look like monsters. Just let it go. They met, they connected, no harm done. But Hannah wasn't stupid. Over the next few days, as she and Dominic texted and planned their second date, little inconsistencies in Jessica's story started to add up. The way Jessica had been so insistent that Hannah go on this particular date. How she'd offered free babysitting, something she never did. The fact that she described Dominic as looking for someone genuine and down-to-earth. A CEO would more likely be seeking someone with social connections and professional status. Hannah called Jessica on Wednesday evening, after Emma was in bed. I need you to tell me the truth, Hannah said without preamble. Why did you really set me up with Dominic Sterling? There was a long pause. Then Jessica sighed. Hannah, I'm so sorry. It started as a stupid joke. Tyler's friend Marcus works in the same building as Dominic, and they thought it would be funny to set up this successful CEO with someone completely wrong for him. I suggested you because I knew you needed a break and would probably say yes for the free babysitting. We even went to the restaurant to watch it crash and burn. Hannah felt like she'd been punched. You set me up as a joke. You used me for entertainment. It was supposed to be harmless, Jessica said, her voice breaking. Just awkward and funny, that's all. We had no idea you two would actually hit it off. Hannah, I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. But you did hurt me, Hannah said, her voice cold. You used my financial struggles and my need for help to make me the punchline of your joke. You mocked the fact that I'm a single mom. You set me up to be humiliated. What are you going to do? Jessica asked nervously. I don't know yet, Hannah said. But Jessica, we're done. Don't call me. Don't text me. I need time to figure out how to handle this. Hannah spent the next 2 days agonizing over whether to tell Dominic the truth. Their second date was scheduled for Saturday, a casual afternoon at the park where Emma could join them. Dominic had been so excited to meet her daughter, so genuine in his interest in being part of Hannah's real life. But how could she build a relationship on a foundation of deception, even if that deception wasn't her fault? Friday evening, Hannah made a decision. She called Dominic. Is everything okay? He asked, immediately picking up on the tension in her voice. I need to tell you something, Hannah said, about how we met, about the setup. She told him everything. Jessica's confession, the plan to use Hannah as a joke. The 3 friends who'd sat in the restaurant filming their expected humiliation. As she talked, Hannah waited for anger, for disgust, for Dominic to realize that this entire situation was tainted. Instead, when she finished, Dominic was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Hannah, are you okay? The question surprised her. What? Are you okay? Dominic repeated. Finding out that your friend used you like that must have hurt terribly. Are you okay? Hannah felt tears welling up. In all her anxiety about how Dominic would react, she hadn't expected him to be worried about her. I'm angry and hurt and embarrassed. You have every right to be, Dominic said. Hannah, I don't care how we met. I don't care if it started as someone's idea of a joke. What I care about is that we connected genuinely, that we saw each other as real people. The circumstances don't change that. But doesn't it bother you? Hannah asked. That people were laughing at both of us. Of course it bothers me, Dominic said. But you know what bothers me more? The thought of losing what we've started because of someone else's cruelty. Hannah, you told me the truth, even knowing it might end things between us. That takes courage. And it proves that everything I've seen in you, all that authenticity and kindness, it's real. So we're still on for tomorrow? Hannah asked hesitantly. Absolutely, Dominic confirmed. I can't wait to meet Emma. Saturday afternoon, Dominic arrived at the park with a gift for Emma, a stuffed elephant that she immediately named Peanut. He pushed her on the swings, helped her navigate the jungle gym, and listened with genuine interest as she explained the complex social dynamics of her preschool class. Hannah watched them together. This successful CEO sitting in the sandbox building castles with her daughter, and she felt something shift in her chest. This was real. Whatever had started as someone's cruel joke had transformed into something authentic and beautiful. As Emma played nearby, Dominic turned to Hannah. I've been thinking about something. Those people who set us up, who thought it would be funny to put you in an uncomfortable situation, they made a massive miscalculation. What's that? Hannah asked. Okay. They assumed that your circumstances, your job, your life as a single mom, somehow made you less than. They thought I'd be horrified or uncomfortable. What they didn't understand is that those are exactly the things that make you extraordinary. You're resilient, hardworking, honest, loving. You're raising an incredible child while pursuing your education and maintaining your dignity. If they wanted to make a joke, they picked the wrong person to mock, because there's nothing about you that's a joke. Hannah, you're remarkable. Hannah kissed him then, soft and sweet, aware of Emma giggling nearby, but not caring. Over the following months, their relationship deepened. Dominic became a fixture in Emma's life, showing up for preschool performances and reading bedtime stories. Hannah met Dominic's friends and colleagues, who were surprised but delighted to see their workaholic friend finally making time for a personal life. Hannah finished her degree with Dominic's support, both emotional and practical. He'd offered to pay her tuition outright, but she'd refused, accepting instead his help with childcare so she could study, and his connections to get her an interview at a prestigious private school where she landed her dream teaching job. I need to do this myself, Hannah had told him. Not because I don't appreciate your help, but because I need to know I can. I understand, Dominic had said, but please let me help where it doesn't take away from your accomplishment. Let me watch Emma so you can study. Let me proofread your papers. Let me celebrate your victories with you. A year after their first date, Dominic proposed, not in a fancy restaurant or with an elaborate public gesture, but in Hannah's small apartment, with Emma as an enthusiastic accomplice. The little girl had been entrusted with carrying the ring box and had taken her job very seriously. Hannah Morrison, Dominic said as Emma proudly presented the ring. You walked into my life because someone thought it would be funny to set me up with someone they considered beneath me. Instead, I met someone who showed me what really matters, who taught me to value authenticity over status, who loved me not for what I have, but for who I am. Will you marry me? Yes, Hannah said through tears. Yes, absolutely yes. Their wedding was a blend of both their worlds, elegant but warm, expensive but heartfelt. And in her maid of honor speech, Hannah's new best friend, a colleague from school, told the story of their meeting without mentioning Jessica or the cruel setup. But afterward, privately, Dominic found Hannah looking thoughtful. Do you ever think about them? He asked. The people who set us up as a joke. Sometimes, Hannah admitted. And you know what? I think I should thank them. Thank them, Dominic said, surprised. They thought they were creating a disaster, Hannah said. They thought my ordinary life and your extraordinary success could never mesh, that we'd be incompatible and uncomfortable. But what they actually did was prove that love doesn't care about status or circumstances. They accidentally created something beautiful while trying to create something cruel. And that's a kind of justice I can appreciate. Flower girl dress, still on and frosting in her hair, ran up to them. Daddy, Dominic, can we dance again? Dominic swept his new daughter into his arms while extending his other hand to Hannah. Always, sweetheart. They danced together. The CEO, the teacher, and the little girl who'd brought them together. Hannah thought about how far they'd come from that first awkward, uncomfortable setup. How something meant to be a joke had become the greatest gift of her life. Because sometimes, the cruelest intentions can lead to the most beautiful outcomes. Sometimes, being underestimated gives you the freedom to exceed every expectation. And sometimes, the people who try to make you the punchline end up proving that kindness, authenticity, and love are the real jokes on them. If this story resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales of love conquering cruelty, dignity triumphing over mockery, and the power of seeing people for who they truly are. Leave a comment about times when being underestimated became your greatest strength, or when something that started badly became your greatest blessing. Share your thoughts on how we can all be kinder, more thoughtful about the pranks we play and the assumptions we make about others. Remember, everyone deserves to be treated with dignity, and love has a way of blooming in the most unexpected circumstances.